which is the resource recovery report, and we've got Ross who's going to present that this morning. A really interesting report too. Welcome, Ross. So you'll talk us through this initially?
Yeah, sure. And I've got Rowan Latham here.
And Rowan.
As well.
Hi, Rowan. Cheers.
So just some of the key issues in the report. I'll give you an update on the closed landfill remediation. First of all, Bexley. We have 3 zones that we're remediating there. The first 2 are completed and work has started on the 3rd zone. The zone itself is in the report, the breakdown, so that the 2 most exposed areas have now, the work has been completed. Le Bons Bay, this one's turned out to be quite challenging, but it's progressing well. We have removed 4,000 tonnes to date of material. We obviously had a bit of a hold up with the weather conditions, the heavy rain event that we had over there in December. Fortunately, the bund that we'd created to protect any of the landfill material from entering into the stream acted as preventing any of that floodwater entering into the landfill area, but also protected us. We got a little bit of inundation of water from the volcanic eruption near Tonga as well, so that prevented any further material going out into the stream. We attempted to see what we could recover out of the landfill. So we had about 25 tonne of metal that we were looking to recycle. We had tests done on that material. It was heavily contaminated with asbestos, so we were unable to recover that or recycle that. The cost involved in decontaminating worked out about $17,000, whereas the value of the material was only around about $1,000. So unfortunately that went to Cape Valley with the remainder of the material. We're expecting the work to be finished the next couple of weeks there, and then just another week for the recontouring of the land.
Sorry, Ross, can I just interrupt, because the report says to date over 2,000 tonnes. I know there's a bit of a time lag. Now you're saying there's 4,000 tonnes you've recovered, and you initially estimated there would be likely 3,600, but there's more there than you thought. So have you got a new estimate of what might be?
So the 4,000 is the current to date, so it's updating from the report itself. The 3,600 was the original estimate. Then once we obviously started getting into the landfill and digging, we found another pocket, another area of material, which when it was first surveyed wasn't identified. So we're pretty confident now that there's a 500 tonne left, and that'll be the end of it.
So there'll be a cost increase, but perhaps not too massive.
There will be, but it's still going to come on budget at this stage. So yeah. Okay,
great.
Yeah. Barry's Bay, we are preparing, and we'll have that very shortly, a report. There's some minor damage to the seawall. We were asked by council to look at protecting that particular landfill against sea level rise, so we're looking at 4 options just to repair the wall. The straight out repair using geotextile is probably something we're not favourable because of the plastic fibres associated with the geotextile. We could repair the wall with rock and vest revetment. I don't want to be cheeky here, Councillor Major, but another option is sheet piling. That we're considering, which is an option that will work in this situation, and a removal to Cape Valley. So we'll have a report to council in the next few weeks on that.
So Ross, on that one too,
yeah,
it's a little bit. Oh no, I see. One of them's Barry's Bay landfill aftercare, and one of them's, the transfer station, one of them's the landfill.
Yeah,
One's
so we're
compliant and one's not.
Yeah, so we're doing an upgrade on the transfer station as well.
Right, but the Barry's Bay landfill's been deemed non-compliant.
Correct. Yeah, it's not. We've prioritised the work around that. We've been working with ECAN. The risk of that landfill leaching or any material coming out is very low. So we've taken the time to put a number of options together so council can decide which is the best way to proceed on that one.
Okay. So when are they coming back, do you know?
We're just waiting for some final costing, which should be the next week or two.
Okay.
If we can move to Onuku, so we had an abatement notice on Onuku, which we ECAN have agreed that they will cancel that and reissue one once we have an agreed time frame to complete the work on that. We've had a delay, and this is with DOC, with the removal of the lizards. We've identified lizards on the landfill site, and we need to work through a program of getting permission to work, but there's a 9-month delay in processing those applications.
Really?
Yes, so ECAN are aware of that. They're okay with that situation, and as I say, we'll reissue the abatement with a new date that we can work towards. If we can perhaps move now to the organics processing plant. So as you are aware, excuse me,
So your microphone's not on.
Right, we're away.
notice that was in place to the 31st of January. So during that period, we've done a lot of work on the site, working with Living Earth to meet the requirement of no offensive ejectional odours beyond the boundary. There is no processing of material happening outside and out of the tunnels or in the screening shed. All the compost that was on site, was being stored on site, that has all been removed. So that went out to some of their sales markets, but the majority went to the wastewater treatment plant.
So it's all gone, there's none left on site?
None left.
Great.
What is left on site is from the screening process, there is what they call the overs or the tailings. So it's a larger, how would you describe a fraction. So it's quite, the porosities are quite chunky. So we don't see that as being problematic. What we did is get PDP to do an assessment of the tailings that were left on site. They completed that the last week of January and determined that there was not a source of offensive and objectionable odours beyond the boundary. We are no longer accepting green waste into the site, so the only processing that is happening of material through the tunnels is the curbside organics coming through. So this is now the new operation. And the way the operation is working now is the material is coming in, processed through the tunnels. There's a probiotic which is added, which assists in the maturity of the compost in a quicker time. From the tunnels, it is taken to the screening sheds where it's screened immediately. The finished compost will be removed from site within 2 days, and the remaining is the tailings, which then goes back into the process to assist with the making of more compost. We have had some feedback from ECAN just via email from a visit they did last Friday, and the feedback that we've had from there is that the what has been done on site is favourable, is their words. So what we're now waiting is the feedback from them on the abatement notice officially, if we've complied with the abatement notice.
So can you say that again? The feedback you've had from them is that the odour is, what did you say about favourable?
Yeah, they did a site visit on Friday, and the feedback from ECAN is that it is looking favourable from what they've seen. Having said that, there was, we didn't have any non-compliances issued in January, but there was a non-compliance issued in February. So that is obviously not favourable, but they're still yet to make a decision on whether we've achieved the conditions of the abatement notice.
Right. Okay. Is there anything, I'll let Ross finish the organics plant, and then I'll go to questions. Is there anything else on the organics plant?
No, that's where we're at. That's really from this point on, we're just waiting to get that confirmation from ECAN that we're compliant, or if there's more work that we need to do to find out what that is.
Okay.
As I say, the independent assessment we got in from PDP confirmed that there was no offensive objectionable odours beyond the boundary.
Right. Okay.
That was...
Right.
Yep.
Yanni, you have a question?
It's really around because up until the end of January we didn't have any non-compliances, but I find it quite concerning that we've done all that work and we still got a notice of non-compliance. And I went past last night and it was reeking like really bad. So do you have any sense of what's causing the offensive and objectionable odours now that we've done all that work and we're still getting a notice of non-compliance? And last night was pretty bad as well. So, you can, like, people that live in the area and are used to that odour, it's very distinct. Like, there's two different types. You can quite clearly tell which is which.
So we're working now with Environment Cannery, PDP, and to understand what, if there is the odour from there, what that is and what more we can be doing about it. But yes, I agree that we've done a lot of work, and disappointing that we did have a notice of non-compliance. However, there's still that decision to be made whether the work that we've done is seen to be meeting that abatement notice.
Right, I appreciate the kind of legal aspects of it. From a community point of view, when we're getting notices of non-compliance outside of the abatement period, it looks like we haven't achieved what we were trying to. So have you had any feedback from Living Earth as to why we had a notice of non-compliance, or did ECAN give any idea about why we got a notice of non-compliance?
No, and the confusing thing is that when the independent assessment was done, the activity, the work that was happening on site was exactly the same as when ECAN was there. So we're not sure, and this is why we need to work to understand if, one, it is the site that's causing the odour, and two, what more can be done.
Right. Okay. Have we got some comms going out? I noticed there hasn't been any updates for a while, just looking at the...
Yeah, there was an update 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Has it been put on our website?
Yes.
It has. Okay. Cool.
30th of January.
Yeah, it just didn't...
And we will be providing an update to councillors. We're waiting for the decision on ECAN so we can provide an update. So there's a memo ready to come to you once we have that final assessment from them.
Right, okay. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Jimmy, you had a question?
Oh, yeah. You mentioned earlier that ECAN, even have to review all those the kind of clear site or maturing compost store outside this organic processing plant. But why the ECAN mention still not yet make decision whether approve their agree all those one, can meet their requirement of abatement notice. What's the reason? I don't know.
Yeah, we try to understand how their process works, and obviously we've been in a lot of communication with them. The notice itself wasn't to have all the finished compost removed. The abatement notice is to have no offensive injection odours beyond the boundaries. So they need time to assess that over a period of time after that abatement notice date, because we were really hopeful we could advise prior to that date that yes, we're fully compliant, and they agree with that there is no offensive injectional odours. So they're going to work through over the next week or so, and then give us a decision from there.
Okay, so, thank you. Second is you mentioned the office working together with the supply developer option study for the future site, as possible, seeking a broader range option. But I'm not sure whether still focus on the sites within our boundaries, actual city, or it's a Canterbury area.
Yeah, look, we are looking wider, definitely. We're looking for potential regional solutions, and there will be a report coming to council on those findings. That's currently being worked through. We have an independent consultant working through that, and there'll be a report coming to council.
Hopefully March. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
10th of March, yes.
Not that far away.
Okay.
Is that it, Jimmy?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. But whether this all your oral presentation, or we have some other question, can we ask?
Oh, you will just do the organic
So this one.
plant and then-
Okay, thank you. Okay,
and
that's
then
it.
Phil's got a question?
Hi guys, I hear you say that the green waste is not going through the system. Is that to stop it overloading what you have to do?
Yeah, the less we need to be putting through the system, there is, when I say we've stopped, we do need some for the porosity through the process.
That'd be your tailings, so probably.
Tailings as well as, yeah. So we've arranged that we can
Take some if you
turn that off, turn that on as required,
But so generally the green waste will be going up to Oxford where the other stuff is?
where the other goes to. Yep. So that's been arranged to
Okay,
that.
that's fine. So just to be clear, instead of us cutting it 100 metres we're having to now cut it to Oxford, not by us, but it is going there.
It will, but some of it is still being used. So,
Understand.
And what will happen is, being seasonal, once that tailings that we have there, we'll get through that pile, we're probably going to require it. So, rather than buy in other materials such as sawdust, we will.
Yeah, no problem. Now, the only other thing is the screening now, being down there and seeing how it works, it's the green bins are coming in, it's going through the shredder and into the vessels and getting done. When it comes out of there, where is it getting screened? In the hall or over where the screen is?
Screening shed. Yep.
So I'm just asking, do we think that because the stuff that comes out of the vessels to get screened, when Jane and I went down there, that was the stuff that was quite juicy, for want of a better word. Should we perhaps put that screen out of the screening shed in the big hall, so that at least all the screening is done in a vacuum environment, so it goes through the biofilter? The screening of it is stirring it up in the air, because the screening shed is not connected to the biofilter, is it?
It's got its own biofilter.
Oh, it has?
Yes. Yeah. So, however, that's a further mitigation that we can look at if it's deemed that that is a problematic area. And you're right, that is the highest risk of the operation, is taking it. With the current new operation, is taking it from the tunnels into that screening shed. Yeah. However, with the adding of the probiotics, the Salvita testing that's been done is it's very stable. So it's not how it used to be. But once again, this is working through with ECAN and understanding, if there is a problem there, what more can we do to mitigate it? So potentially, yes, having a screening operation in that tunnel area, if we need to.
I can't quite remember, is there enough room in the big hall to put the screen in as well?
They're looking at a mobile screen, so they'd need that receiving area operational during the day for the curbside organic trucks.
Yeah.
But then potentially having a screen go in there at night and screening. But then that material that's screened still has to go outside and sit before it can be transported.
You can't put it straight on truck and take it instantly?
No. You might have weather conditions. You might have they might be screening it at night. There's those variables that will restrict
Okay,
that. Yeah.
thank you.
Sounds like you're exploring all options there, Ross.
Yeah, there's a lot of work going into it. Living
Yeah.
Earth's been very, very helpful. And what we've said to ECAN, look, if we haven't got it right, let us know what more we need to do so we can achieve it. Because obviously the longer term option, whatever that may be, is going to take some time. So we need to be able to operate without causing any adverse effects.
That's right. What about the number of complaints? Have they dropped off?
All I've seen is the non-compliances, and as I said, we've had none through. I know there's a lot of complaints for the wastewater treatment plant, which seems to be dominating the complaints. But no non-compliances for
And there's
January.
no chance that odour from what we're spreading at the plant could be, drifting across to the residents, is there?
No, look, I've been out there a couple of times. We've also had some testing done on that as well. And no, once it's actually been put out and we're spreading it, so it's a uniform 300 ml layer.
Yeah.
It forms like a crust on top, which basically seals in any potential odours.
Right, okay.
So the only risk is that actual time when it is being potentially spread. Yep.
Yeah. Yanni, have you got another question?
Yeah, thanks. I was just going to check when the next update's due to go out and whether we're going to, whether we can just tell people what's happened in terms of non-compliance and the abatement notice. Because the last update that went out made it seem like it said independent consultants have carried out site assessment, including the number of potential odour sources have been eliminated, therefore preventing offensive and objectionable odour beyond the boundary. But given that ECAN's actually given us a notice of non-compliance for that exact thing, if you're in the community, you're going to be pretty frustrated. But given now, because I think the last update was before the abatement period had finished. Mm-hmm. So now that the abatement period's finished, is there another update that can go out just sort of saying what's happening and maybe encouraging people to continue to report complaints to ECAN? Because obviously that's a really critical thing from our point of view, is that I would presume we still want people to lodge complaints if there's an odour that they're detecting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the most important thing there is to wait until we've had ECAN's determination in terms of regulatory compliance. Then we're in a position to communicate with the community.
We do have a community meeting next Tuesday, so we'll be discussing that at the meeting as well.
But can you see from the community's point of view, you had 3 months, we failed. You've had a year, we've failed. We've made some improvement, a lot of improvement, in the year. That's absolutely true. But we still are non-compliant. So surely telling people that rather than just sort of having a communication that goes out that makes it seem like the problem's been solved, when clearly it hasn't, otherwise we wouldn't have had a notice of non-compliance.
Well, that is at an appointed time.
Right, it's not a continuum, is it?
And we were looking at, with the newsletters going out, if once we got into a compliant situation, reducing those newsletters. But I wouldn't. Yeah, in a month's time, yes, we could put out another, but we couldn't really look at a 2-3 weekly.
Like the next.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the notice that was put out at that point in time with our best knowledge and our best information that we had at that time. So it was what we understood and where we were at that point in time. What we didn't know is what was going to happen in the future. So we will be looking to communicate with the community as we need to. But what we're trying to do is have some information to communicate with them. We know there's been a non-compliance issued, but we don't understand the detail around that. So let us get that information and then communicate with the community.
Right. And then the other key message that should be going out, which would be nice to see in our communications, is how do people report the odour if it's objectionable? You know, how do they report?
It's changed.
Yeah.
So that's all still there.
It's not. It says to contact the council for project information. It doesn't say anything about reporting the odour if you're still noticing it. There's nothing that says that.
Well,
It's a function of VCAN with the
Yeah.
regulatory compliance.
and the ability to report it is still there, and that process hasn't changed. So what we can do is reconfirm that, but nothing's changed from what happened before that. But we thought we were at this point where we were okay. So that was the best information we put out at that
Yeah,
time.
no, I'm
and
not
you as councillors got
yeah.
it ahead of the community
Yeah.
getting it.
Which is really good that we've sent that update. All I'm saying is now I've got the unfortunate situation of having to explain to people in my community how after a year we've got a notice of non-compliance,
So what,
and clearly, you know, the key message should be we've made a lot of improvements. We have had a notice of non-compliance. We would still encourage people to continue reporting.
okay,
Which we'll do with the community next week at the meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
so that's all happening.
Cool.
So we're trying to say to you today, you don't have to explain it to them. We are and we will, and you can point them back to the project team.
Phil,
And maybe, sorry, I'll just, maybe just thinking about that, maybe we should put out a joint, like at the start, this was a joint odour monitoring project with ECAN. Are we able to put out a joint communication from ECAN now that the abatement sort of period's finished?
Ross has said to you at the beginning of this meeting that we are working with ECAN to understand what the rest of the process is and
Yeah.
how they're dealing with that abatement process. Until we've got that information, we can't say anything jointly with ECAN because we don't have anything to say. So we are trying to get that across the line as quickly as we can so that we can tell all of that information to you and the community.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Hey, Ross, just, I don't know if you can, but is there anything you can tell the meeting about how things are going with the consultant with moving the plant?
We can probably, as much as we can tell them that where the process is at, and as we've done previously. And look, until the report goes to the council on the 10th of March, and once we have some information, then we can communicate that.
Okay, so it's in motion. Yeah, thank you.
so it's in the report. Consultancy firm Jacobs currently developing the investigation and feasibility assessment. It will consider a broader range of options within the parameters of the council resolution as possible to ensure no practicable alternative is overlooked. These options will then be assessed via a multi-criteria analysis to identify the preferred options. So it's a big piece of work, particularly developing that analysis. So
Yeah.
time is of the essence now, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people doing a lot of hours to get that over the line, and making sure that we have looked at as many options as possible, given the expenditure that could be involved with the decision.
Okay, is that all on the organics plant? Ross, I've got a question on the last page on the landfill gas and the fact that we're underutilising it, and so we're flaring it off. This is obviously from Burwood.
Correct, yeah.
So why can't we use it all? Why can't we use it?
Yeah, so look, there's various users of the gas. So we have the wastewater treatment plant, we have the art gallery, we have Civic here. I understand, but I don't know any detail, that we have the Trigen here, which if it's not being used, then that requirement, because we don't have that requirement, there's no draw of the gas off the plant, so we just have to flare that gas. So just to comment that, you know, we have gas available that's being produced from the landfill, but it's not being fully utilised. So I have brought that to the attention of facilities, just to ask as to if there was any issues, you know, with the Trigen, is because we did have the excess gas that was just being flared off.
So are we not using the Trigen?
At that point in time, no. So that may have changed. I'd have to check with facilities again.
Get an answer to that question, what's happening with that, because we should be using it if we can. It's supposed to be used in the building, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not using that, are we using electricity?
Diesel, which is, I think we've got plenty of downstairs. Oh, sorry.
And sort of wonder why we didn't hook to it, isn't it? Maybe
Yeah, look,
that was-
it is there, it is available. It's one of our KPIs to have it available 99% of the time.
But isn't it running out or not?
Look, over time it will, but we have invested over recent years putting new wells down, and they are yielding good gas. So yeah, it's there to be utilised.
Phil, have you got an idea or something?
No,
Oh, good,
no,
that's okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
And the car on it.
Ross, I was always under the impression, and this might be because of what's happened down at the trickle filters, that the wastewater treatment plant used the landfill gas to dry its sludge, but because the trickle filters are playing up, is there not the sludge to dry? I don't know, because they normally burn wood if they can't get the gas.
Yep, that could be another reason for the underutilisation. Back when the report was done, it was that we weren't utilising it here at Civic. So
Because they do use it, don't they?
they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So they're obviously using as much as they can at the moment.
That's some dots I need to join and probably get some reporting on, just so that if we can advise that the gas is available and we've got an excess, that that it has been drawn on. So I'm not quite sure who coordinates that, but I'm quite happy to find out.
Thank you.
See it, make sure it's utilised.
I think that would be really good, because I think maybe they're discarding some of the stuff away from the wastewater treatment plant now, instead of drying it out, aren't they? But let's get the information. Yanni?
Thank you. Just two things from me. I think we got a memo about the glass recycling, didn't we? But I haven't been able to find it in the hub. But we did get some information. We have had information circulated.
There's a briefing immediately after this meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Presentation and briefing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then obviously on page 44, it's deeply troubling to see the curbside contractor performance. The audit identified 45% of the collection fleet of chevrons in poor or average condition and needed improvement. And then if you look at the customer requests around missing the tickets, can you give us some sense, or do we need like a sort of briefing on what's going on? But I think it's incredibly concerning to hear that our key contractor is failing on so many levels, and obviously it's the same contractor that is doing Living Earth. It's waste management, isn't it? So, what do we do? Like, can we get at a high level, or maybe a separate briefing? But I just don't know how any of us can read that and be content with this situation.
Can I respond to that? And that, so we are working very closely with Waste Management, who are actively working with us to address all the concerns that have been raised. They are actively working to make sure their fleet is up to scratch. And we are currently in the process of working very closely with them to address all the concerns that have been raised. And we anticipate that we will see, and they will see, great improvement.
Well, can you just tell me, give us some sense of, because it says the team leader of temporary traffic management and a notice of deficiency, and I don't know what.
So they've done an audit. They've let them know that they weren't up to standard. They're addressing that. We were also working with them on how we address the.
Sorry, what I'm trying to understand though is what's the standard? Is it like the buses like faulty brakes, or is it just what is it?
No, it's temporary traffic management. It's about COPTM, so the Code of Practice for Temporary Traffic Management, and it's effectively about reflectivity of their signs. That's the basis of it.
On the vehicles.
On the
themselves.
vehicles.
Right.
So it's the signs that are on the vehicles that people can see as they come up to them, because they're working in dusk times and that sort of thing. So they did an audit.
Okay.
They checked it out. They weren't as reflective as they needed to be in a number of cases, and they are looking to fix them.
Yeah.
And working on it.
It's probably also worth noting just that we're working closely with Waste Management at the moment on their truck liveries. So on the signage on the vehicles, including ensuring that all collection trucks have clear CCC signage, but also signage per waste stream they're collecting. So we're really working closely with the contractor just to make sure that the collection vehicles that are out there collecting everyone's curbside wheelie bins are in absolute tip-top shape.
So is it a case of just the trucks being in service for a long time and just over time they've just not been maintained and not kept up to the standard that they were when they were introduced?
I think the only thing we can talk to is that an audit was done and they weren't up to standard,
Okay.
so they are fixing them.
I guess for us, because didn't we extend the contract on the basis of,
We have a current contract
Sure.
that is in place. We
Yeah.
are working within that contract and we're working with the contractor to deal with it.
okay. And have you got a sense of which area the missed tickets and damage bins are coming from? Is there any geographic pattern to what's been going on, or is it just citywide?
No, there's no real pattern there. It's
So
it's
again,
across
they're
the
looking
city.
to address it. Yeah.
Okay, and I know like the app's really good that you guys have had developed. Like it's a really amazing app, really useful. Is there a ability on the app to notify people when the streets are being missed by the
Yes,
company?
we can push messages out, and if it's specific to a particular area, we can target that area.
Right. Okay. Cool. And sorry, just a final thing, which is just someone raised with me, but is there a printout that we have for people where their collection, what collection happens when? So for people that don't have access to the app or smart technology or the internet, is there an ability for people to get a printout of when their collection days are for what bins?
They can go to their local library and they'll be able to look it up for them.
Yeah, it's on the website. It's on your rates. It's available a lot of places. Yeah.
Yeah. So usually,
Yeah. Did we?
actually
Did-
said,
Yeah. Did we do it in the past? Because someone just raised with me like something we might have done in the past.
Historically there was, but yeah, cost associated with that. There was fridge magnets and all that. So yeah, with available online, that's
okay.
the cheapest way of getting that messaging out.
Sorry, I just missed that because the mail was talking.
So, historically, yes, there was, but there's a cost for printed material and
Cost prohibitive.
yeah, so it's via electronically. We've got that information out there, but it is on the rates and library.
Cool. Thanks.
Bill and then Anne.
So, thanks, guys. So, there's every month there's roughly 3,500 people ring up about something wrong with their curbside thing, and 65% of those are resulting from missed bin collections. That's probably 2,000 odd phone calls a month that our guys get, that they've got better things to do than answer the phone for that. Would that be
And
fair?
that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I looked at this last year and I did a little bit of homework, and one of the reasons that there's a lot of things happening in the industry at the moment, getting drivers is not easy. Bus drivers got the same problem. But one of the problems is that the waste management trucks go to, and I'll just pick on Parkhouse Road, for example, they go to Parkhouse Road and they have to be dumped off and empty by, say, 4:15 at night. If they were allowed to cart for an extra 2 hours a day, they wouldn't miss any, because once they get to a certain time, their truck's got to be empty and that's it. They're not allowed to do any more. Now, at Parkhouse Road, right next to Parkhouse Road transfer station where we have to dump the red bins, Waste Management have got their own private transfer station. Has anyone given any thought to Waste Management going into their own transfer station, which runs 24/7, and dumping the red bins in there, which they're allowed to do? Because I'm under the impression that their contract says they have to dump it at Eco Central and not their one. And the homework that I did last year said if they dumped it at their one and not Eco Central, it would be $1.2 million cheaper to us every year. Have we given any thought to going to Waste Management's own?
We're currently working through all the options with Waste Management on this and
Because-
looking for a solution that is cost effective for us and for them.
So what I'm getting at is, are we working on
We're looking at all the
them
options.
using their own?
We're looking at all the options.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully we're not paying for it.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, is there anything else you wanted to highlight in the report?
Where's
Oh, sorry, Anne, you had a
Yes,
question.
thank
I'm
you. Yeah, no,
sorry.
I just actually wanted to give a gold star because actually it seems like you've done a huge amount of work on education in terms of
Yeah.
people in bins, and it seems to be having a great effect.
Yes.
So well done. And I was interested in how you got the information into the school newsletters and things like that, because that's an excellent way of getting information out. Was that just, how did that happen?
Familiar with that one, right?
Just the comms team, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll either be through our communications team or through the Learning Through Action program. which
Yeah,
we
well,
support.
it's a really great idea because one of the challenges is we've heard getting information to people. So that's an excellent on-the-ground type way of getting people aware of things. So well done.
Thank you for the feedback. We'll pass that on to the team. Yeah.
I also noted the university skip day. And was that a first for them? Or have they done it before?
It might have been done years ago under a different format.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it was abused in the past, so we had to keep some quite strict controls over, who could bring material in, and
So were they bringing stuff from their flats, or was it just on site?
It was flat clear. So effectively, the university,
Brave.
the university have run it for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and I believe they approached council about some support and obviously trying to help divert those, good quality materials that have survived the university year, and to funnel those through the eco shop.
Right.
So Eco Central, our contractor for the eco shop, and the eco drops worked with the University of Canterbury to run those skip days and had dedicated skips for the collection of reusable materials.
Well, that's amazing. It really is. Just shows you what you can do when you join up. And I noticed too that the yellow bin contamination is continuing to decrease. And even though you've said it was an average 89%, you actually did achieve 93% in August, September.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, look, it's been great with the comms and the audit team and the work that's been done to bring those levels back down. We're not letting up on the gas on that, because of course with people working from home, that puts more pressure on the curbside services. Again, we'll be presenting next week about some of those services and looking at the delivery of those. There'll be a briefing next week on that.
Excellent. Right, if there are any other questions on Ross's report? Oh, Jimmy.
One question on,
Oh,
I'm not sure, on page 39, you particularly mentioned this through the education cycle in the bin removal. I'm not sure this bar chart, for instance, like October 21, November to December. I compare this one, but why the bins, the removal more, however, the converted recycle also down, should be increased. Why down? This trend, I'm not sure. We compare for the last 4 months. Why this converted recycled, this trend is down, should be increased.
So which graph? Sorry, excuse me. Which graph are you looking at?
Yeah, this one.
Figure 3, the
Removals. Figure 3.
recycling bin removals.
Recycle bin removal, that should be the proportion trend. Why you are just
So that's bins, all bin audits.
It could be related just to the timing of those checks. So obviously, what the process for the auditing is that those bins will be checked on multiple times, where they've had the contamination, and so once they've contaminated the 3 times, then they're effectively put on a removals list, which is the bars on figure 3. And so that's bins to be removed. But what we do when we go to do the removal is we actually check the bins again, and we're finding that some of those have recovered or are undertaking those good recycling habits that we would expect. And so we actually bring them off that list and consider them converted recyclers. So they've effectively come back to use the system correctly after a pretty stern warning from council that their service may be removed. And so I think the spike is probably just around the timing or the grouping of those auditings, as opposed to a particular change in behaviour that month.
okay? Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Some of those are actually ending up to be gold star residents, so the behaviour's changed completely the other way. They're 100% on top of their game with the recycling.
So it's not the same bin, the
No.
removed bin, and the converted recycled bin. That's total difference. Total different.
Yep, so that's where we see that come
Thank
down.
you.
Look, I know I've asked this question before, but I kind of want to keep asking it. The battery recycling. So there are very few places where you can drop them off. And the question I've got is that, you know, the ones that are household use for torches and radios and things like that, couldn't there be just a collection box for them anywhere, and they could be picked up when they're full? You know, like it's not, I don't want to add to collection costs, but it just seems to me that we want to make it easy for people to drop them off. And so where are places people go? I mean, even if there was a box where people could take them at the supermarket, or, you know, I'd love one in the council building, but that's only me. You know, so yeah. I mean, you have to jump in a car and go to one of the, there's only a couple of stores, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stores, and then the Eco Drops.
Yeah. So look, we'd be happy to look at expanding that. The funding that we've had available for that, part of that has been through the Canterbury Waste Joint Committee. So our next phase has been to roll that out into other towns within Canterbury. So that's this phase that we're just going through now. So we've proven the concept, we've proven the uptake. We're getting not only good recycling and, you know, around about a tonne a month of batteries, but the one of the objectives in setting it up was to try and reverse the amount of truck fires and fires at the processing facilities with the lithium ions, which has been successful.
Right.
So look, we understand that the more points that we have available, the more convenient it is, the more uptake it's going to get. So we'll have to look at how we can fund that.
But even if it was a small container, you know, like, even if it, you know, the small containers that weren't, you know, the great big ones.
Yeah. The cost itself is in the, because they're a hazardous material, is the processing and recycling of that material. So the collection and the processing of that that's where the cost lies. It's not
sorry, is there a risk around having batteries in a box that have been used?
There is, and look, some of the supermarkets we approached wouldn't partake in the scheme because of the risk. Their insurance wouldn't cover the potential risk of fire. It seems to be a small risk. Lithium ion is the highest risk, and potentially taping the terminals will reduce that risk, but sometimes you get damaged batteries. So there is that consideration as well. And the boxes that have been receptacles are being built pretty sturdy with that in mind. But it's something we're happy to look at, you know, because the more we can get out of, the more hazardous materials we can get out, the better for everyone.
It's worth
If the lithium ones are the highest risk, then maybe just restricting it to those alkaline or whatever they are. You know, the batteries that we use every day that do run out, and we do tend to get renewals.
Yeah. In terms of the risk, so we have worked really closely with the collections contractor to develop sort of a safe operating procedure for the collection and storage of those batteries.
Yeah.
And we've actually recently supplied that to all the territorial authorities in New Zealand as a bit of a template should they want to develop a battery collection system. So we accept that there is still some risk for those businesses, organisations to host a battery collection point, but we've tried to provide as much guidance around that and obviously the safest collection mechanism around that. But as Ross says, you know, the current funding we have funds 7 collection sites in Christchurch.
Yeah.
We could add additional collection sites subject to them being prepared to take on those risks and act as a collection site, and also the additional funding for processing those materials.
Given that it's a co-funded model at the moment. Are you going to do a kind of a written review on what you've learned from the, I mean, essentially it's a pilot, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's part of the current phase, which we've received funding from the Ministry for the Environment, and that's for expanding it to a region-wide collection model. So we've got a municipal, a city collection, and now we're looking at those rural collection points as well. And that's really about understanding the throughputs and the demand for those services, so that it could be rolled out on a national scale.
So will we see that report?
We can certainly prepare a report on that. We've got milestone reporting for the ministry.
Yeah, that would be quite good, just
Send
to
an
have
update,
just an update for us, so that we can see what it's achieved. And I mean, I just think it's fabulous. So I'm not being critical. I want more of it, because it's just so convenient for people not to put. We want to make it convenient for people not to put them in the red bins.
Yeah, and our end goal out of this is to have that as a product stewardship scheme. So either the importers or the manufacturers.
Absolutely, they should be paying
pick
for
up the
it,
cost,
the collection. Absolutely, they should.
So that was our intent at the start, and we're heading the right way on that.
Yep, good. Thank you.
Yeah, we've got some really good data now, so that will influence those future product stewardship schemes, because we know the tonnages and the costs involved in those collection schemes. So we've really sort of trialled the collection
It'd be
methodology.
quite good, because I think the public would appreciate knowing the difference that they can make by utilising the scheme, and then overall collectively what that then delivers for the region, but also the country.
Yeah, and so in that light, it might be good to have a public presentation, perhaps.
It would be great to have a public
Next
presentation.
meeting, or whenever you can get it done by.
Yep.
So how long have you been running the pilot?
It's over 2 years now.
Right.
Yeah, nearly 3, I think.
Nearly
We're in
three.
the third year. Yep.
If you could do that for us, that'd be wonderful. And I just have one last little question on the compliance and quality assurance. The lost time injuries in the wastewater area is really high, isn't it? 51. So I guess is that just the riskiest area to work in, or was there
Sorry, you mean for us, resource recovery? The
No, it's the wastewater.
wastewater?
Yeah,
Third column, so it's not
Oh,
us.
yeah.
it's not really your department. I
Not-
suppose it's the net, isn't it?
No?
Helen.
Yeah.
Okay, I might just put that through the office then. Yep, that's all right. Do you have any other questions? Mike?
Not so much a question, more of a comment.
Yep.
Around the battery recycling stations. I just want to do a bit of a plug actually for Papanui Mitre 10 Mega. Not only do they have one of them, they also do recycling of plastic pots for your plants and seedlings, and polystyrene as well.
Fantastic.
And I think
Yeah.
it's really good that we do plug the businesses that are getting on board with these environmental projects. Yeah, it's really.
We've recently released an update out to the community. I believe it's on our website, which describes all of those local recycling and resource recovery programs. So exactly
Which is pretty cool.
for that purpose, to connect the dots for people of where you can take things like old plant pots or polystyrene.
Great, all on our
Toothpaste
website.
tubes.
Yeah, all on our website. That's wonderful. All right, hey, well, thank you for a really good report. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder, Jimmy? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
No debate.
Opposed, that's carried. And I'll close the meeting with a karakia.